this presentation is probably going to be as I described at the beginning of the last presentation.
Toto bude tá prezentácia, o ktorej som hovoril na začiatku minulej.
Just information.
Bude to veľa informácií.
But you may think, okay, it's just information.
Pomyslíte si, no, samé informácie.
But this is probably the most vital piece of information to everything we've been looking at this week.
Ale je to jedna z najdôležitejších vecí z toho, čo sme sa pozerali tieto dni.
Because this is going to allow us to see events
Lebo toto nám dovolí, aby sme videli udalosť,
that are about to take place.
ktorá sa má skoro udiať.
It's very exhaustive information.
Je to naozaj veľmi vyčerpávajúce v zmysle množstva informácií.
Very historical.
Veľa histórie.
But if you can take notes,
Ak si môžete robiť poznámky,
I encourage you to do so.
tak by som vás k tomu chcel povzbudiť.
So I'm going to be pausing a bit
Budem dávať určité pauzy medzi tým,
as I go through some of the histories,
si pôjdem cez tie dejiny.
because there's some notes that I want to read as well,
Sú aj nejaké poznámky, ktoré vám chcem prečítať,
to try and give you a bit of information behind it.
aby som vám dal nejaké informácie, ktoré sú tam za tým.
I want you to be very merciful to Sister Monica,
Prosím vás, majte milosť pre Moniku.
because she's not only going to have to translate me,
Nielen, že ma bude musieť preložiť,
but she's going to translate what I'm reading,
ale bude musieť prekladať to, čo budem čítať.
because I'm translating somebody else.
Pretože ja... You are translating somebody else.
I'm translating that. So you're translating me and I'm translating someone else.
Ja ešte prekladám vlastne, čo je tam.
So bear with us as we go on this journey together.
Tak majte prosím vás trpezlivosť s nami.
If we turn our Bibles to the book of Revelation,
Keď sa pozrieme do Zjavenia,
and we go to Revelation 12,
Zjavenie 12,
and we'll read we'll read from verse 6.
čítam od 6. verša, until
Verse 9.
9. Od 6 po 9. A žena utiekla na púšť, kde má miesto pripravené od Boha, aby ju tam živili 1260 dní. A povstal boj na nebi, Michal a jeho anjeli bojovali proti drakovi. A bojoval i drak a jeho anjeli. Ale nezvládali, ani ich miesto sa viacej nenašlo na nebi. A zvrhnutý bol veľký drak, ten starý had, ktorý sa volá Diabol a Satanáš, ktorý zvodí celý svet, zvrhnutý bol na zem a jeho anjeli boli zvrhnutí s ním.
So what's taking place in verse 6?
Čo sa deje v 6. verši?
Žena utekla na púšť.
She ran to the wilderness.
Who ran to the wilderness?
The woman.
Who's the woman?
Kto je žena?
Církev.
The church.
The church?
Na púšť.
Yeah. Okay. And why is she running?
Prečo utekla? Because of persecution.
Because of persecution. What kind of persecution?
Ako bola prenasledovaná?
I want you to give me two answers.
Chcem dve odpovede.
Physical
Fyzicky
and
a
spiritual.
duchovne.
Mental.
Alebo psychicky. Fyzicky a psychicky.
So that's the persecution that this woman is going through.
Táto žena išla cez toto prenasledovanie.
Where does she flee to?
Kam utekla?
Na púšť.
Wilderness.
The wilderness. Where is the wilderness?
Kde je púšť? America.
Only one person.
USA.
Yeah? And what did we say the USA is?
Čo sme povedali? Čo je Amerika?
Where did ancient Israel, when they left Egypt, where did they go to?
Kam išiel staroveký Izrael z Egypta?
Don't tell me Canaan.
Nepovedzte Kanán.
Na púšť.
Wilderness.
Yeah.
Najprv na púšť a potom.
And what is that wilderness called?
Ako je nazývaná tá púšť?
A land flowing.
Zem, the wilderness is called? The land.
A land flowing with milk and honey.
Isn't it the... Yeah?
Well, so...
Tá púšť je nazvaná zem, ktorá preteká mliekom a medom. Isn't it the promised land?
Yeah, so I said don't tell me Canaan. It is Canaan.
You're talking about wilderness now.
Okay, so let's go back.
Sorry.
You probably maybe because you gave wilderness. Why? So I said they left Egypt.
Odišli z Egypta.
Okay. And where were they going? They're passing through the wilderness.
Oni len prechádzali cez púšť, ale čo bol ich cieľ?
Kanán, zemi zaslíbená.
Promised land.
With the promised land, which is filled with milk and honey.
A tá je plná medu a mlieka.
So when this woman leaves,
Keď táto žena odíde,
she's on her way to where?
ide kam?
The New World.
Nový svet.
United States of America.
Spojené štáty.
The promised land.
To je zasľúbená zem.
The land flowing with milk and honey.
Zem pretekajúca mliekom a medom.
Can we see that?
Vidíme to?
Now, what did we say that the United States of America is?
Čo sme povedali, že čo sú Spojené štáty americké?
It's a country where God's people can worship Him.
Je to miesto, kde Boží ľud ho môže uctievať, Boha,
with freedom of conscience.
So slobodou svedomia.
What allows them to worship God with freedom of conscience?
Čo im povoluje, aby uctievali Boha so slobodou svedomia? Pomáha, nepomohuje.
Ústava.
Constitution.
The Constitution.
Ústava.
Okay. So, let's read in verse 7.
Poďme pozrieť 7. verš.
And there was war in heaven.
Povstal boj na nebi.
Michael, who's Michael?
Michal, kto je to?
It's Christ.
Ježiš.
And his angels fought against the dragon.
A jeho anjeli bojovali proti drakovi.
Who's the dragon?
Kto je drak? Satan.
So, let me ask you a question.
Takže sa vás pýtam.
You've got Christ.
Máme Krista.
And you've got Satan.
Satana.
They take out their swords.
Zoberú svoje meče.
And they start fighting.
A bojujú.
Yeah?
Áno?
Put your hand up if you think they were fighting with their
Ak
swords.
si myslíte, že bojovali mečmi, dvihnite ruku. At the end, they did, no?
Mečem slova, no.
They were fighting with the word of the word. With the sword of the word.
There was no physical fighting in heaven.
V nebi nebola žiadna fyzická
How do
vojna.
we know that?
Ako to vieme?
No, nemohla to byť fyzická vojna.
It wasn't possible?
God's word, God can obliterate Satan like that.
Slovo.
Obliterate, destroy?
Just destroy.
Boh mohol takto zničiť Satana.
With a blink.
Takto.
There's no way that Satan can ever have a battle with Christ.
Satan nemôže nikdy fyzicky bojovať s Kristom.
So we know that this is not a physical battle.
Vieme, že toto nie je fyzický boj.
Amen?
Áno?
What's the battle that we're facing now?
Aký boj je pred nami?
It's a mental battle.
Psychický.
It's a war of words.
Je to boj okolo slov.
So the battle that took place in heaven
Boj, ktorý sa odohral v nebi,
was a battle over words.
bol boj na základe slov.
It was a battle of information.
Informácie.
Correct information
Pravdivé informácie, správnej
and false
a
information.
nepravdivej.
What was the correct information that Christ was putting forward?
Čo bola tá pravdivá informácia, ktorú Boh, alebo Kristus dával?
That his 10 commandments is correct.
Že jeho zákon je správny.
What was the argument that Lucifer was putting forward?
A čo vravel Lucifer?
That the 10 commandments cannot be kept.
Že nedá sa dodržiavať Boží zákon.
So the whole great controversy
Celý veľký spor
is about whether Thomas
je o tom, či Tomáš
and whether the people in Christianity,
a ľudia v kresťanstve,
where are we? Christianity? The people in
ľudia v
Christianity
Kšinnej,
can keep the law,
či môžu dodržiavať Boží zákon,
can keep the 10
či môžu
commandments.
dodržiavať 10 prikázaní.
Can we keep the 10 commandments?
Môžeme dodržiavať 10 prikázaní?
Áno.
Of course we can.
Áno.
So that's what the argument is over.
O tom je celý ten spor.
So if the great controversy started
Keď začal veľký spor
with an argument over information,
vlastne v hádke okolo informácie, alebo informácií,
what do you think the controversy is going to end with?
S čím si myslíte, že naozaj skončí ten spor?
It's going to be information.
Zase informácia.
It's going to be a battle over information.
Bude to boj ohľadne informácií.
Put your hand up if you was around during the Cold War.
Vyhnite ruky, ak ste tu boli počas studenej vojny.
Don't worry, it doesn't mean you're old,
To nebojte sa, neznamená, že ste starí,
but it's interesting.
ale je to veľmi zaujímavé.
What happened during the Cold War?
Čo sa vtedy stalo?
Was there a war?
Bola nejaká vojna?
No war.
Žiadna vojna.
What was it?
O čom to bolo?
It was information.
O informácie.
But it caused problems.
A spôsobila problémy.
It was one side saying, I've got this muscles.
Jedna strana hovorí, mám takéto svaly.
And another side saying, my muscles are bigger.
A druhá strana hovorí, môj sval je väčší.
So we can only just say
Môžeme len povedať,
that the great controversy at the end of the world
že veľký spor na konci sveta
is going to be a war about information.
bude boj okolo informácie.
Because if you didn't know,
Ak by ste nevedeli,
information is the most powerful thing at the end of the world.
Informácie alebo slovo sú tie najmocnejšie veci na konci sveta.
All I need to do
Všetko, čo potrebujem robiť,
is say that you're a bad person.
je povedať o vás, že ste zlý človek.
I tell that to someone,
Poviem to druhým.
and guess what
Viete,
happens?
čo sa stane?
You've got 5 people that don't like you anymore.
Budete mať už 5 ľudí, ktorí už vás nebudú mať radi.
Just by information.
Len tým, čo som povedal, informáciou.
Did that take place in heaven?
Stalo sa to v nebi?
How many angels left heaven?
Koľko anielov odišlo z neba?
One third.
Tretina.
Do we know how much 1/3 is?
Koľko to je?
We have no idea.
Nevieme.
Because we don't know how many angels there were.
Nevieme, koľko bolo anielov.
But however much 1/3 is,
Ale akokoľvek veľa to bolo,
they turned their loyalty
zmenili svoju vernosť
because of information.
kvôli informáciám.
So that's what we want to look at today.
Na to sa chceme teraz pozrieť.
So in the year 1969,
1969
we had the invention of the internet.
Je vynájdenie internetu.
Back then it was called something the ARPANET.
Bolo to nazvané ARPANET.
And before the internet,
Predtým, ako bol internet,
maybe Pippa might be able to help us out with this.
možno Pepa by vedel viac.
How did you receive information?
Ako sme predtým prijímali informácie?
What was the method that was
Aká
used?
bola metóda?
Písomná.
Like magazines or news?
Magazines,
Television.
newspapers,
Yeah.
Newspapers.
libraries.
Knižnice, noviny.
But then in 1969,
V 69.
they got all those newspapers,
Všetky tieto články
all those library documents,
a všetko, čo bolo v knižniciach,
and they consolidated them into one database,
všetky nazhromaždili do jednej databázy
which then allowed information to be found.
a to dovolilo, že môžeme teraz nájsť informácie.
But it was a basic method.
To bola základná metóda.
It was the evolution of information.
To bola taká evolúcia informácií.
Shortly after that,
Krátko potom
we had something called the FISA courts.
FISA
FISA.
what is called like
Court, judge.
ako súd FISA, yeah, it's fine. I translate it.
You translate. Okay, that's fine. And
Súd FISA. Neviem, čo to je.
let me take on that.
Ako taký súdny proces. Proces FISA. Súdny proces.
So the FISA court was basically designed to gather.
Sorry, can I ask, because
yeah,
I translated that court is like when there are judges and
Yeah,
they're, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. So the FISA court was a court that they had
Takže bol tu proces,
that if anyone had was taken to court,
keď niekto bol vzatý na súd,
information was able to be gathered on that person,
bola možnosť zhromaždenia informácií ohľadne toho človeka,
whether it be in their phone records
či to boli jeho telefónne záznamy,
or their bank statements,
bankové výpisy,
anything that gave information about that person
všetko, čo dalo informácie o danom
and
človeku
was used against them.
a bolo to použité proti ním.
That's your personal information
To sú osobné informácie,
being put out in a court
ktoré sa vlastne vyťahli na súde
to persecute you.
kvôli prenasledovaniu.
How many of us are on the internet?
Koľký z nás sú na internete?
Všichni.
All of us.
What if you was to type your name in the internet?
Keď si dáte svoje meno do Google,
Do you think anything will come up?
myslíte, že niečo vylezie?
Spoustu věcí.
Many things.
Many things will come up.
I nesmyslů, protože samozřejmě
Also
se
lies.
upravují informace o lidech.
We're now in a society
Sme v spoločnosti,
where the internet has become a dominant means of information.
kedy sa internet stal takým dominantným spôsobom informácií alebo prostredníkom.
Ten years later,
O 10 rokov neskôr,
in 1989,
v 89.
interesting, 1989,
To je zaujímavý rok.
I was just born,
Ja som sa vtedy narodil.
but it's an interesting year.
Ale je to zaujímavý rok.
We had the World Wide Web invented.
Je vynajdený celosvetový web, www.
What does the World Wide Web mean?
Čo znamená celosvetový web?
The answer's in the name.
Tá odpoveď je v tom mene
It's the
samotnom.
World Wide Web.
Celosvetový.
Notice it's a web.
A je to web.
How do we class a web?
Čo je to web?
It's a spider.
Pardon, ja som nepreložila. Web je sieť. Hej? Čiže ako vlastne, kde vidíme sieť? U pavúka.
And a spider spins a web.
On rozširuje svoju sieť.
There's no webs in here because your house is so clean.
Tu nie sú siete.
But when a spider spins a web,
Keď pavúk tú pavučinu rozširuje,
it spins it large enough
je dostatočne veľká,
that it can catch everything.
aby chytila všetko, čo on potrebuje.
Flies, insects, etc.
Muchy a tak ďalej.
That's what the World Wide Web is.
To je celosvetový web.
You can get all the information necessary.
Alebo pavučina. Viete tam získať všetko, čo potrebujete informačne.
The World Wide Web invention came into information management proposal. The World Wide Web was information, which was now manageable.
Čiže ten celosvetový web je vlastne informácie, ktoré teraz vieme nejakým spôsobom ovládať a manažovať.
So yesterday Pippa wanted to talk to me.
Peter sa chcel včera so mnou rozprávať.
So he knew where to go. He went to Google.
Išiel na Google.
Google Translate.
Translátor.
And he wanted to put in information.
A niečo tam ťukal.
If you want to find out how old Barack Obama is,
keď chcete vedieť, ako starý je Barack Obama,
we go to Google.
Ideme do Google.
We put the information in there.
A tam dávame informácie a dostaneme
And we
informácie.
get the answer.
Máme odpoveď.
If Monica wants to make Carol a beautiful cheesecake,
Keď Monika chce urobiť Karolovi nejaký dobrý koláč,
she may go on Google
pôjde na Google,
to get the
aby
ingredients,
mala recept,
to know how to do it.
aby vedela, ako to spraviť.
So this is information management.
Takže toto je management informácií.
It's a way of having all the different pieces of information
Je to spôsob, ako všetky rôzne druhy malé kúsky informácií
accessible so we can get it.
môžeme vlastne sa k ním dostať.
So this took place in
To
1989.
sa udialo v 89.
And then in 1990,
90.
you had the web browser.
Je prehľadávač,
And the web browser was then released in
ktorý bol
1991.
vlastne uvoľnený v 91.
We know what web browsers are.
Viete, čo to je?
It's like the search bar.
Yeah.
You've got Google, AOL,
Najznámejšie Google.
different search bars allow you to find the information over the internet.
Sú aj rôzne tie browsery.
So prior to 1969,
Pred 69.
how was warfare done?
Ako sa diala nejaká vojna alebo bitky?
No, fyzicky.
Physical.
Fyzické vojny.
Bombs, grenades,
Bomby, zbrane,
tornadoes, etc., etc.
tornáda.
Okay. But then come 1996,
Potom prišiel 96.
you had a different type of warfare.
A prichádza vlastne nový typ boja.
It's what we call cyber attack.
A to je vlastne, teraz neviem, či to dobre preložím, kyberútok? Ako
Kybernetický útok.
Kybernetický útok.
This was, in 1996, the first cyber attack on Russia.
To bol vlastne prvý útok Ruska.
On the USA, sorry.
Okay, so Russia
Russia
against USA.
attack, yeah.
Ruska proti USA, kybernetický útok.
It was known as Moonlight Maze.
A volalo sa to, on tam má ten názov, že Moonlight Maze. A znamená to, maze is like corn, I think, where the corn is from.
No.
Oh, no.
No, so a maze is like a box, and this is the entrance.
Toto je krabička, tu je vchod.
And I want to go in here. I got there.
A bludisko.
Bludisko?
Aha, dobre. Čiže to je bludisko za svitu mesiaca, alebo niečo v tom zmysle, alebo mesačného svitu.
Okay, so the reason why Russia called it Moonlight Maze
Dôvod, prečo to takto nazvali,
is because they can send digital information
bol ten, že mohli poslať digitálne informácie,
which will be a virus
ktoré vlastne boli vírus
and corrupt the computer systems of the USA.
A boli schopní narušiť počítačový systém Spojených štátov.
But the USA wouldn't know how to prevent it.
A USA nevedelo, ako sa brániť.
Or how to defend it.
Alebo ako sa brániť.
Because it was a maze.
Bolo to bludisko.
It was difficult to trace.
Bolo veľmi ťažké to nejako vystopovať.
So now the warfare is now changing from physical
Teraz ten boj sa mení z fyzického
to digital.
na digitálny.
You don't get hurt.
Nikto nám fyzicky neublíži.
There's no bleeding.
Žiadna krv sa nevylieva.
It's just a infrastructure destruction.
Ale je to ničenie infraštruktúry.
Pippa used to work in a bank.
Pippa pracoval v banke.
What happens if someone was to put in the wrong digit or code or password in the banking system?
Čo by sa stalo, keby niekto bol daný na nejaký zlý kód v rámci toho bankového systému alebo nesprávny účet číselne?
Or they was to erase a hard drive with loads of banking information?
Alebo keby niekto ukradol hard drive s veľa bankovými informáciami.
What is the effects upon your clients?
Aký by bol efekt na tvojich klientov?
Nastal by zmatek, protože samozřejmě by se musel bankovní systém uzavřít a rekonstruovat ho.
The whole system would have to close. There will be a lot of confusion.
Ale dneska to je řešený silnýma zálohama.
Today they have strong
backup.
Protože i s tím se počítá, že prostě jsou útoky do bankovního systému a jsou dnes a denně.
They already expect attacks, so they prevent themselves.
Yeah. So Russia,
Rusko,
being a powerful nation,
ako mocný národ,
took advantage of the internet
vzala vlastne si takú výhodu z internetu
and decided to use that
a použili to
to their benefit
pre svoj užitok.
by attacking the USA.
A vlastne nabúrali americký počítačový systém.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, slightly different. Okay, yeah. As we move on,
Ako ideme ďalej,
we come to 9/11.
Tam je ještě ten údaj rok 1993, jak to má ten strategii.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so in 1993,
v 93.
and I think we're going to read that, thank you. We have something called strategic communication laboratories,
strategické komunikačné laboratória,
also known as SCL.
SCL.
They came up around in 1993,
Tie vznikli okolo 93.
and I'm going to read a piece of information about them.
Malý kúsok z toho prečítam.
Just bear with me while I find it.
Chvíľku to potrvá, kým to nájdem.
Strategická komunikační laboratoř.
Okay.
They just read it or you want to? Oh, actually.
Oh, do you want to just read it?
Yeah, but I realized I don't know the sentences where they finish.
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah. Okay, so. So SCL came about in 1993.
SCL vzniklo okolo 93.
And it was by a man called Nigel Oakes.
Nigel Oakes, Miguel Oakes sa píše, ak si ho chcete vyhľadať. Založil.
He was from London.
Bol z Londýna.
And he was a television production and technology behavioral dynamics scientist.
Pracoval v televíznej produkcii a technológii.
And they were designed to study people's behavior.
Vlastne on mal na starosti študovať správanie ľudí.
It was a center of excellence. So SCL was a center of excellence. They had high achievements. They were very well known.
Oni boli veľmi známi, mali vysoké hodnotenia, ako dostali sa na takú vysokú úroveň.
For their research.
Kvôli svojim výskumom.
Their research was in development, into persuasion and social influence.
A vlastne ten výskum bol ohľadne presvedčovania ľudí, ohľadne sociálnych výskumov, ako ľudí proste ovplyvňovať.
They were the only academic organization in the whole world.
Bola to jediná akademická organizácia v celom svete,
whose understanding of psychology of persuasion
ktorej porozumenie psychológie presviečania
has been successfully applied
bola naozaj úspešne používaná a aplikovaná
on a global scale.
V celosvetovom meradle.
And this is how they describe themselves.
A takto sa oni popisovali.
So we sets up this organization
Ustanovili sme túto organizáciu
to analyze how information can change someone's behavior.
Aby sme analyzovali, ako informácia môže zmeniť správanie ľudí.
And what he does in 1990 is it?
1990. Tam je nejaký asi.
Let me just go back. Okay, so 1993, it's up and running.
V 93. vlastne už beží to.
And between 1990 and 1992,
a medzi 90. rokom a 92.
he starts to make it more popular.
On to vlastne začína popularizovať.
And starts to be advertised in magazines.
A píše rôzne články.
He makes an interesting statement in a trade magazine.
Zaujímavý výrok povedal v obchodnom časopise.
Okay, just find it here. It says, but before I read the statement, I just want to
predtým, ako vám to prečítam,
touch on the art of persuasion.
Chcem sa dotknúť tej témy presvedčovania.
When you go shopping,
keď idete nakupovať,
and you see food signs,
a vidíte nejaké znaky jedla,
one says, 20 euros.
Jedna povie 20 euro.
Another one says 15 euros.
Druhá 15.
But the one that says 15 euros,
tá, čo povie 15 euro,
it says, if you also buy
ak si kúpite aj
a newspaper,
nejaké noviny, časopis,
inside the newspaper
tak vnútri v tom časopise
will be vouchers for your next shopping.
Nájdete nejaké také ako darčekové lístky, poukážky, za ktoré môžete na budúce nakupovať.
Which gives you 10% off.
A máte 10% zľavu.
So this is what we call advertising.
Toto voláme reklama.
So when you go to the shop,
keď idete do obchodu,
let me change that around actually.
Prehodím to naopak.
It's 20 euros this one and 15. So when you go to the shop,
keď idete do obchodu,
you went in there to really spend 15 euros.
Chcete vlastne minúť 15 €.
But when you saw the offer, if you buy the newspaper, you're going to get 10% off the next shop.
Ale keď uvidíte túto super ponuku, že keď si kúpite tie noviny, tak ešte budete mať zľavu na budúce.
You think, oh wow, that's a good bargain.
Myslíte si, to je super.
Let me buy that one.
To si kúpim.
Now you're not necessarily going to get the 10% off.
Úplne možno aj nedostanete 10%.
Because when you read in the newspaper,
bo keď to tam prečítate,
it says 10% off.
Tam bude napísané 10% zľava.
When you spend 100 euros.
Keď miniete 100 €.
So now you've realized
tak ste si uvedomili,
that you bought something
že ste niečo kúpili,
that you're not really gaining any benefit by.
A v podstate z toho nič nemáte.
But you was persuaded
ale vás presvedčilo,
because how the magazine was sold to you.
Presvedčilo vás to, ako vám to predali, vlastne tá reklama.
So these kind of things people study behaviors.
A toto je vlastne spôsob, alebo dôvod, prečo tí ľudia študujú správanie ľudí.
To see how people behave.
Aby sme videli, ako sa zmení naše správanie na základe informácií.
When you go shopping,
keď idete nakupovať,
there's two types of carts.
Sú dva druhy carts.
Carts.
Tých vozíkov.
Trolley?
Nie, vozíkov.
Yeah. There's a big one.
Veľký.
And there's a small one.
Malý.
Now, which one do you go for?
Ktorý si vezmete? Big one.
Small one.
They take small.
A nebo žádný.
Nejlepší je obyčejný košík, nebo věcně je tady jenom si pro jednu věc.
So this is how the psychology works.
Tak to funguje psychológia.
When you take the small one,
keď vezmete ten malý,
you think you're only going to take 3 items.
Tak si myslíte, kúpim len pár vecí.
But you end up filling the trolley.
A potom ho nakoniec naplníte.
Because you want to get everything in there.
Ale keď kúpite ten veľký, tak ho naplníte, lebo chcete všetko tam kúpiť.
And when you take the big one,
keď zoberiete veľký,
you think, oh, it's the only trolley that's there. I need to just take a few items.
So if I take the big one, I think
that you're only going to take a smaller bit of item. You're not going to fill it to the top. You don't intentionally want to fill it to the top.
Predtým hovoril o malom.
Pardon, ja som to poplietla, takže keď zoberiem ten malý a myslím si, že chcem kúpiť len pár vecí, nakoniec ho naplním celý, ale keď zoberiem veľký a idem s tým, že kúpim len pár vecí,
yeah. But you end up filling that one to the top anyway.
Ale aj ten nakoniec naplním celý.
So what's the remedy?
A aký je liek pre toto?
When you go shopping,
keď ideme nakupovať,
zoznam.
He says we need a list.
Amen.
Dopředu být připraven.
You go with a list.
Máme list, zoznam.
And you write down
napíšeme si,
what you want,
čo potrebujeme,
before you go into the shop.
Predtým, jak ideme do obchodu.
So whether you take a large trolley,
či zoberieme malý alebo veľký,
or a small trolley,
to je jedno.
you only put the items that you need.
Zoberieme len to, čo potrebujeme.
Also, when you go into the shops,
keď ideme nakupovať,
there's music playing.
Hrá hudba.
Why?
Prečo?
To relax you.
Aby sme boli v pohodičke.
To stop your conscience.
Aby sme prestali vedome rozmýšľať.
So you can go all around the shops without any idea of what you're doing.
A idete v takej dobrej náladičke, ani si neuvedomujete, čo robíte.
Do you think these things are just random?
Myslíte, že toto sa deje len tak náhodne?
They're designed to deceive us.
To má všetko svoje plánovanie, aby nás to zviedlo.
So we can get caught off track.
Aby nás to ako z tej našej cesty, ktorú sme mali, odvratilo.
Another idea when you go shopping,
keď ideme nakupovať,
is when you go into the shopping aisles,
keď vojdeme do tých uličiek,
and you have the shelves.
Máme tam poličky.
The cheap food
lacné jedlo
is always at the bottom.
Je vždycky dole.
Why?
Prečo?
So you can't see it.
Aby to člověk přehlídnul, no.
So we don't see.
The more expensive ones
Tie drahšie
are right on the middle shelves.
Sú tak v stredných poličkách.
So naturally you go for the first ones you see at eye level.
Prirodzene kupujeme to, čo vidíme ako prvé na našej úrovni očí.
Because you can't be bothered to bend down.
A sa nám nechce zohýbať a sa tam nakúkať.
So all of these methods
všetky tieto metódy
companies
spoločnosti
invest billions
oni naozaj investujú bilióny
in order to make you buy.
na to, aby ste to kúpili, čo oni chcú.
And this is what these companies invest in.
A do tohto vlastne investujú tie spoločnosti.
So Nigel Oakes says
Takže tento Nigel Oakes hovorí,
that the techniques that they use
že spôsob a technika, ktorú používajú,
is the same techniques that Aristotle
je rovnaká ako Aristoteles
and Hitler
a Hitler
used.
používali.
They say that we appeal.
My vlastne, what is appeal?
We appeal.
Call?
We advertise to. We appeal.
Robíme ako keby reklamu voči, alebo neviem.
No, okay.
Nevieš appeal, Tomáš?
Appeal. I'm appealing to you.
Ako, like we make influence on someone.
Yes.
Keď vlastne robíme na niekoho určitý vplyv.
So we appeal to people on an emotional level.
Vplývame na ľudí na emocionálnom leveli.
To get them to agree on a functional level.
Aby sme vlastne ich priviedli do toho stavu, aby súhlasili s tým, čo my chceme na tom leveli fungovania.
This is what he was developing.
Toto je to, na čom on pracoval
within his organization.
v rámci svojej organizácie.
So in 1993,
V 93.
he sets up a strategic laboratory.
Vlastne založil tú strategické laboratórium.
And in 2005, which we're not there yet,
V 2005, tam ešte nie sme.
we're going to read about how they have grown to become more of a powerful organization.
Si potom prečítame, ako sa stali vlastne takou mocnejšou organizáciou.
So that's what Strategic Communication Laboratories, or SCL, is.
Takže to je tá SCL.
So we move on now to 9/11.
Už sme boli pri 9/11.
And what happened at 9/11?
Čo sa stalo vtedy?
We know the Twin Towers fell.
Vieme, že padli dvojičky.
And when the Twin Towers fell,
Kedy padli?
what did the government do?
Teda, keď padli, čo spravila vláda?
Yeah. So the government brought out what we call the Patriot Act.
Vláda zaviedla Patriot Act.
And what is the Patriot Act?
Čo to vlastne je?
It's a law
Bol to zákon,
that was brought in to control the people of the United States of America.
ktorý vlastne bol daný, aby vláda mala moc ovládať ľudí v Amerike.
It was designed to take away your civil liberties,
On vlastne odnímal občianske práva.
to control who you
Slobody.
are, and stop you from having the freedom of anonymity.
Anonymity?
Yeah.
Čiže tento Patriot Act vlastne mal moc kontrolovať ľudí a zobral tú slobodu anonymity.
Your personal information
Vaše osobné informácie
was no longer
už
personal.
neboli osobné,
Your phone records
vaše telefónne záznamy
was no longer private.
už neboli súkromné.
Your emails
E-maily
was no longer private.
neboli viac súkromné.
But the people of the United States didn't know this.
Ale ľudia v Spojených štátoch toto nevedeli.
The spin that was given to them,
Spin. Like just a little info.
the information that was given to them in regards to the Patriot Act
Ten kúsok informácie, ktorý im bol daný ohľadne Patriot Actu,
was that it's to protect your civil liberties
bol, že aby ste práve že boli ochránení občiansky
because of terrorism.
kvôli terorizmu.
Now, when there's terrorism in a country,
Keď je v krajine terorizmus,
what does the people do?
čo robia ľudia?
They throw away their liberties
odhodia svoje slobody
and they say, protect us.
a idú k štátu, ochraň nás.
We don't care how you do it,
Nám je jedno, ako to spravíš,
but protect us.
ochraň nás.
How do you think the Sunday law is going to come in?
Ako si myslíte, že príde nedeľný zákon?
Stejným spôsobom.
Same.
The people ask for it
Ľudia si to vypýtajú,
because they see that the world is in a turmoil.
lebo uvidia, že svet je v nebezpečenstve, v mele.
So they ask the government for it,
Tak budú pýtať si od vlády, aby urobila nedeľný zákon.
and it's given to them.
A je im to dané.
But what's the compromise?
Aký je kompromis?
To give up your civil liberties
Na to, aby ste sa vzdali svojich občianskych slobôd
and to be controlled by the state.
a budete ovládaní štátom.
So President Bush brought this in at 9/11,
Toto zaviedol Bush v 9.11.
and the Patriot Act comes in
Patriot Act prišiel
and it's enforced.
a je vlastne pretlačený,
But it's under cover,
ale je to v takom zahalení,
in secret.
v tajnosti.
But it is signed into law.
Je zavedený do zákona,
But the people of the United States don't know the full force of it.
ale ľudia v Spojených štátoch nevedeli vlastne jeho plnú moc alebo význam.
In
V
2004,
2004
you've got a man called James Comey
je tu muž menom James Comey
and Robert Mueller.
a Robert Mueller.
These individuals
Títo dvaja
start to see the full force of what the Patriot Act actually is.
začali vlastne vidieť tú plnú moc toho zákona.
Because what are Americans proud of?
Na čo sú Američania hrdí?
Of their freedom,
Na svoju slobodu.
of their patriotism.
Oni sú veľmi patriotickí.
And where do Americans get their patriotism from?
Odkiaľ oni majú tento svoj patriotizmus?
Že se stali tou svobodnou zemí, když tam lidi utekli, tak asi tím.
Because they became the land.
Výjimečný.
They were special.
They get it from the Constitution, do you
Oni to
know?
majú z ústavy.
It's the Constitution that makes them great.
Bajtova píše, že je ústava, ktorá ich robí veľkým národom.
And Ellen White clearly makes that clear.
Sorry, I mentioned it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So it's the Constitution that makes them great. And what does the Constitution say?
A čo hovorí ústava?
That the people of the United States,
Že ľudia v Spojených štátoch,
their civil liberties should not be taken away from them.
ich občianske slobody nesmú byť od nich odňaté.
Oh, yeah, I've got it here. I'll just read you a passage from the Constitution if I can find it.
Prečítam kúsok z ústavy, ak sa mi to podarí nájsť.
Okay, here it is.
Tu je to.
So one of the amendments of the Constitution says...
Amendment to je ako
Dodatok.
dodatok k ústave.
Congress shall make no law
Kongres nesmie urobiť žiaden zákon
respecting an establishment of freedom.
ohľadne respecting? Can make no law. Can you say it again?
Yeah, Congress can make no law in regards to an establishment of freedom, of religion,
ohľadne zavedenia náboženskej slobody
or prohibiting the free exercise, or stopping the exercise,
alebo zakazovanie voľného používania viery.
or stopping freedom of speech,
Nesmie zastaviť slobodu slova, reči,
or freedom of the press,
slobodu tlače,
or the right of the people
alebo správ ľudí,
to peaceably assemble, to meet together,
aby sa spolu stretli,
to petition the government,
Petition. Aha, nesmiem zakázať petície robiť.
In regards to their civil liberties.
Ohľadne ich občianskych slobôd. I translated wrong the very first part. Congressional no law respecting an establishment. Aha, pardon, to prvé som preložila zle, že nesmie zaviesť zákon, ktorý by vlastne zakazoval založiť nejaké náboženstvo.
To sú dodatky Lyndona Johnsona?
Who made this amendment?
Oh, this is what the founding fathers of the United States made.
So that's like old.
Yeah, George Washington.
Takže pri založení asi
What's his name? Lincoln, the fathers of the United States of America.
To sú
the Bill of Rights.
Tieto dodatky sa robili ešte na začiatku Spojených štátov. Tí zakladatelia, alebo on to nazve, že otcovia Ameriky.
It also goes on to say
Ďalej to hovorí,
the rights of the people
práva ľudí
to be secure in their persons,
musia byť zabezpečené
their houses,
vlastne pre nich ako pre ľudí, pre ich domy,
their papers,
pre ich dokumenty
and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures.
a the last part? The rights of the people to be secure in their persons. A vlastne nesmú byť bezdôvodne prehľadávaní.
Shall not be violated.
Toto sa nesmie porušiť.
No warrant shall issue.
What is warrant?
A warrant is like a license to go and arrest you.
Nemôže byť daný žiaden príkaz na zatknutie.
Upon probable cause.
Len v nejakom pravdepodobnom prípade.
Supported by oath or affirmation.
Podporený prísahou alebo potvrdením.
So basically what it's saying is.
Čo to hovorí
is that no one can just march into your house.
Nikto nemôže proste len tak prísť do nášho domu.
And just take your personal information.
A zobrať naše osobné veci a informácie.
Nor can anyone.
A takisto
track your personal information.
Nikto nemôže vlastne sa prehrabávať v našich osobných veciach a snažiť sa tam niečo vyhľadať.
Now, obviously we know that when the United States was formed,
my vieme, že keď Spojené štáty boli utvorené,
they didn't have emails and things like that.
Nemali e-maily a takéto veci.
But funny enough, this law covers all of that.
Ale čo je zaujímavé, tento zákon pokrýva všetko to.
That the rights of the people should be protected.
Aby práva ľudí boli ochránené.
So in order for the Patriot Act to come into history,
na to, aby Patriot Act prišiel do dejín,
what needs to be rewritten?
Čo musí byť znova napísané?
Or changed?
Alebo zmenené?
The Constitution.
Ústava.
You need to remove the Constitution.
Musíme vlastne odňať ústavu.
In order for the Patriot Act to take its place.
Na to, aby Patriot Act sa udial.
Does that make sense?
Dáva zmysel?
And that's exactly what President Bush needed to do.
Presne to Bush potreboval spraviť.
But let's just say he comes out and says the Patriot Act is this X, Y, Z.
Keby on prišiel a povedal, Patriot Act je toto, X, Y, Z.
Would the people accept it?
Prijali by to ľudia?
No.
Nie.
So you have to pull it under a guise.
Čiže bolo to treba dať pod určitú takú, ako pod nejaký dážnik.
And that convenient guise
a ten prevlek
was the attack on September the 11th.
Ktorý bol použitý, bol útok pri 9.11.
That then gave him the license
tomu dalo oprávnenie
to bring in a law
aby mohol zaviesť zákon
and rewrite the existing law
a vlastne ako keby prepísať ústavu
because of fear.
Kvôli strachu.
But we know that the Constitution is still there.
Vieme, že ústava stále ešte platí v Amerike.
And as long as it's still there,
a zakiaľ je tam,
America is a free country.
Amerika ešte stále je slobodná krajina.
But the moment the Constitution is removed,
a v momente, keď ústava bude odňatá,
America then accepts the image of the beast or the mark of the beast.
Amerika príjme obraz šelmy. Can I ask?
Yeah.
Patriot Act. What did I want to ask? Slipped my mind. Yeah, like it was never executed, was it? It was just like put in place, but it was never executed.
They did use it.
Yeah?
Yeah, they did use it.
Takže použili ho vraj. Mňa zaujímalo, že či ho niekedy použili ten Patriot Act, že ho použili proti niektorým ľuďom.
Takže tá ústava už je zmíněna.
No, ona není změněná, ale prostě existuje tady prostě na ochranu prostě dokument, na ochranu lidí. Že to je vyšší, to je takzvaný
Ale
vyšší
on tady,
zájem.
on říkal, až bude ústava odňata. Amerika
Jo,
přijme
ale tady
nedělný
prostě-
zákon.
So how come they can use it if it's against the constitution? And the constitution is still valid.
Yeah, the point is, you're not advertising the full force of it. This was all done in secret.
Toto bolo vlastne urobené v tajnosti a to, čo všetko naozaj Patriot Act obsahuje, nebolo dané na verejnosť.
There's I wish we could find it. There's a quotation where Ellen White says, the something is done in darkness.
Yeah. Ellen Whiteová hovorí, že vlastne tie prípravy na nedeľný zákon sa dejú v skrytosti a v temnote.
Do you remember I asked you the question, how do you get a Sunday law?
Ako prídeme k nedeľnému zákonu?
Do they just make a Sunday law?
Stane sa to zrazu?
You need to be breaking down the barriers along the way,
Postupne sa lámu tie bariéry.
weakening the people
Oslabuje sa ľud
and breaking down the constitution.
a začína sa nalámávať ústava.
The Patriot Act was just a start of that.
Patriot Act bol len začiatok.
But the full force of it was never disclosed.
Ten plný účinok toho, o čom vlastne hovoril, nebol nikdy odhalený.
Only a surface information was given to the public.
Do verejnosti bolo dané len povrchné informácie.
The rest of it was private.
Ostatné bolo súkromné
And that's how it was able to go through Congress.
a preto to bolo aj schválené kongresom.
Because only a few people
Lebo len pár ľudí
in the government
vo vláde
knew the full force of it.
vedeli plný účinok ústavy, teda Patriot Actu.
The president,
Prezident,
his national security advisor,
jeho poradca hlavnej obrany alebo národnej obrany
and a member of Congress.
a jeden človek z kongresu.
But in 2004,
V 2004
a man called James Comey and Robert Mueller
títo dva muži
understand what the Patriot Act really is.
pochopili, o čom to celé je
And they realize that it's doing damage to what the Constitution stood for.
a uvedomili si, že to ničí ústavu.
So they begin to resist it
A začali proti tomu bojovať
and reject it.
a odmietať to.
Then in 2012,
V 2012
the same SCL
táto SCL,
that came about in 1993
ktorá vznikla tu,
now comes back into history.
znova prichádza do dejín
They entered the United States of America.
a vlastne ako keby vstúpili do Spojených štátov amerických.
Remember, we said SCL was a British company,
To bola britská spoločnosť.
and they were designed in what?
A boli vlastne určení na čo?
Manipulating how we think
Aby na manipulovanie ľudí,
to their advantage.
na ľudské myslenie podľa toho, ako potrebovali.
So SCL in
V
2012
2012 SCL
enters the United States of America.
vošla na trh Spojených štátov.
And the founder of SCL
Zakladateľ tej SCL,
meets a man called Christopher Wiley.
he meets with Christopher.
Yeah.
Sa stretne s týmto Christopherom Wiley.
I'll show you a picture. So, this is Christopher Wiley.
Toto je Christopher Wiley,
He's a young guy,
veľmi mladý chlapec,
about 28 years old,
20 ročný,
but he's a computer genius.
počítačový genius.
He's absolutely amazing on a computer. Sorry, pass it down, pass it down.
Pošli to ďalej.
He's a computer genius.
On je genius počítačový.
So the founder of SCL
Tento zakladateľ toho SCL
meets Christopher
sa
Wiley
stretne s týmto Christopherom
and employs him into the organization.
a vlastne zapojí ho do tej svojej organizácie.
Now this man Christopher Wiley is very good at computers.
On je veľmi dobrý v počítačoch.
Ještě jednou, s kým se střetne ten Christopher?
Vlastne s tým zakladateľom tej SCL.
So SCL employs Christopher Wiley
Oni ho zamestnajú,
and they begin working together.
pracujú spolu
And Christopher Wiley starts to give information to the founder of SCL.
A on začína vlastne ten Christopher dávať rôzne informácie tomu SCL.
And they meet with a man called Steve Bannon.
A ďalej sa stretnú s mužom Steve Bannon.
Show you a picture of Steve Bannon.
Oh, sorry, I pushed
No, that's okay.
I touched the screen.
No, it's fine. Sorry, I'm just going to get you the other. Okay, I can't find it.
Neviem nájsť toho druhého.
I've got the picture on here, but I'll find it in a sec because I can't see him. But the other,
Neskôr.
the other man is called Steve Bannon,
Takže ten Steve.
and Steve Bannon is basically what we call an advertiser.
On je v podstate ako taký pracovateľ pre reklamu.
And to my recollection, he works for Donald Trump.
A myslím, že pracuje teraz pre Donalda Trumpa.
Now, we know that whenever someone is going to run for presidency,
Vieme, že keď niekto ide vlastne s prezidentskou kampaňou,
they have what we call a campaign agent
majú agenta, ktorý ich sprevádza tou
who
kampaňou,
does all their advertising
ktorý im robí tú reklamu
and all their promoting
a vlastne ich propaguje,
in order to get the information of that person
aby získali rôzne informácie toho človeka
out in the public.
A vlastne, aby informácie o ňom dostali na verejnosť.
So, Steve Bannon then takes SCL,
Steve Bannon berie SCL,
he takes the idea of the company
vezme si celý ten vlastne tie myšlienky tej organizácie
to a wealthy family.
A zoberie to k bohatej rodine.
And this family is called the Mercer family.
Taká rodina Mercer.
That's the name of the family, the Mercer family.
Tak sa volajú Mercer.
And the Mercer family invest billions of dollars
A táto rodina vlastne investovala bilióny dolárov
into the company.
do tejto spoločnosti.
And so the company now re-emerges.
A oni vlastne majú takú, what is re-emerge? Like recreate?
Yes.
Oni ako keby pretvoria sa trošku.
Into Cambridge Analytica.
A sú nazvaní Cambridge analytickí.
And I'm going to read to you a bit of the agenda of what Cambridge Analytica is.
Prečítam vám trošku z ich agendy.
So it says, psychological warfare,
Psychologický boj.
they used in Afghanistan
Používali v Afganistane
and in different war zones.
a rôznych iných bojovných zónach.
In 2005,
V 2005
SCL, also known as Cambridge Analytica,
SCL, alebo tento Cambridge analytický
set up an exhibit. It's like a fair.
fair.
A fair, like they set up a program.
Vlastne zaviedli taký program
at a Defence and Security Equipment International program.
Skoro výstavu by som povedal, to fair ako výstavu.
Hej. Okay.
Yeah.
A vlastne bolo to ohľadne obrany a bezpečia medzinárodného.
And I'm going to describe what they had there.
A popíšem, čo tam majú.
They had computer screens
Majú počítačové obrazovky
showing some type of apocalyptic. Can I say the word? Apocalyptic scenario.
Ktoré ukazujú rôzne apokalyptické scenáre.
In one of the cases,
V jednom z prípadov
they showed this scenario
ukazujú tento scenár.
and how the world would and how people would react to it.
A ako ľudia by na to reagovali.
They said for the past 24 hours,
Za posledných 24 hodín
7 people had been checked into a hospital.
7 ľudí muselo ísť do nemocnice.
This is not real, by the way. This is the scenario that they designed.
Toto sa nestalo naozaj, ale to je ako scenár, ktorý oni urobili.
This is a story that they were telling.
To bol príbeh, ktorý rozprávali.
That there were symptoms of Russians vomiting.
Že tam boli nejaké symptómy, Rusi vracali.
These people had high temperatures and cramps.
Russia vomiting. What is Russia vomiting?
Russian people vomiting.
Okay. Čiže Rusi vracali, mali vysokú teplotu.
They had the typical signs of smallpox.
A mali typické znaky kiahni.
They were using this as a pandemic to scare people.
A používali to ako pandémiu na zastrašenie ľudí.
So the scenario that they were trying to promote
Tento scenár, ktorý propagovali,
is how the government can deal with a supposed pandemic
bol ten, že ako by sa mohla vláda vlastne vysporiadať s nejakou prípadnou pandémiou.
and still contain the people.
Contain?
Yeah, stop the people.
Stop the people?
So let me phrase it like this. So Cambridge Analytica
Takže táto spoločnosť
designed a program,
urobili program
and they were showing other government officials
a ukazovali iným pracovníkom vo vláde,
if there was a pandemic of smallpox or a virus in society.
že keby bola nejaká pandémia alebo vírus v spoločnosti,
They made a video to show how they can deal with it.
urobili video, ako sa s tým môžu vysporiadať.
So in the video,
V tom videu
they had Russians vomiting out of a virus called smallpox.
Rusi vracali kvôli vírusu o kiahni.
And they basically said, if this information was out on the television,
A povedali, keby toto bolo v televízii,
those who don't have the virus
tí, čo nemajú vírus,
will start to panic
začnú chytať paniku
and start to run all over the place.
a budú behať na rôzne miesta.
So in order to contain this information,
To keep it in.
that's it.
Čiže na to, aby sa tie informácie udržali vlastne mimo verejnosti,
They made up a lie.
urobili klamstvo.
And what they said
A čo povedali?
is that they changed the story of the virus and said it was just something basic. It was just something normal. It wasn't
A
anything
zmenili
dangerous.
vlastne ten príbeh toho vírusu a hovorili, že to je iba niečo taká normálna nejaká víroza, obyčajná.
So that when the people heard the information,
A keď ľudia počuli tú informáciu,
or maybe saw it in the media,
alebo videli to niekde v médiách,
they will automatically think
automaticky si mysleli,
it's just the basic information.
je to v pohode, to je také...
So this was what was sold to countries and also the military government.
Toto bolo predané rôznym krajinám aj vojenskej vláde,
In order to prevent a outbreak of mass confusion.
na to, aby sa vlastne zabránilo masovému zmätku.
So they orchestrated a sophisticated campaign.
Takže oni vlastne ako keby tak dali dokopy takú veľmi prefíkanú kampaň,
to help convince the public
aby presvedčili verejnosť,
that an accident at a chemical plant
že nejaká nehoda ohľadne chemického
chemicals in a factory. A plant is a factory.
Nejakej chemickej továrni.
So basically their idea was to show how they could prevent this.
Oni ukázali, ako môžu tomu zabrániť.
by sending a lie, by making up a lie.
Tým, že vlastne verejnosti podajú nejakú lož. They want to prevent the panic, right?
Yes.
Na to, aby zabranili panike.
So someone said to the founder of Cambridge Analytica,
Niekto povedal tomu zakladateľovi tej spoločnosti,
by you putting this information out in the media,
tým, že dáš toto do médií,
it's propaganda.
je to propaganda.
And he responded and said, no, this is not propaganda.
A on hovorí, nie je to propaganda.
He says, there's nothing wrong
Nie je nič zle na tom,
with telling an untruth
keď povieš to, čo nie je pravda,
for 48 hours
počas 40 hodín, 8 hodín,
to save millions of lives.
na to, aby si zachránil milióny životov.
Sometimes the means to an end
Niekedy prostriedok ku koncu
has to be recognized.
musí byť rozpoznaný.
And by telling an untruth,
Tým, že povieme to, čo nie je pravda,
it allows us to save people.
to nám pomôže zachrániť ľudí.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a bit of history into Cambridge Analytica, also known as SCL.
To je len trošku dejín okolo tejto spoločnosti, analytický Cambridge a SCL.
So I just want to backtrack a little bit.
Trošku sa vrátim.
If we notice the internet now comes out,
Internet už funguje
and the internet starts to evolve into this big World Wide Web.
a vlastne premenil sa na celosvetovú sieť.
Russia begins to take advantage of this internet.
Rusko si berie svoju výhodu z toho internetu.
And they orchestrate their first attack on the United States just using the cyber warfare.
A urobili svoj prvý kybernetický útok na Spojené štáty.
Then there's a program called Strategic Communication Laboratories, known as SCL,
Tento program SCL
who basically work with manipulating people's minds
pracuje vlastne s manipuláciou ľudskej mysle.
in order for them to work according to how they do things.
Na to, aby robili vlastne podľa toho, ako oni chcú tie veci robiť.
Then the founder of SCL meets a man called Christopher Wiley,
Zakladateľ toho SCL sa stretne s Christopherom Wiley
who then brings the company over to another man called Steve Bannon,
a ten prinesie tú spoločnosť tomu Steve Bannonovi
who sees that there's lots of potential in this company.
a on v tej spoločnosti vidí veľký potenciál.
So then they find a wealthy American company
A potom stretli sa vlastne s takou veľmi bohatou spoločnosťou americkou,
who invests billions into the company.
ktorá do nich investovala bilióny.
And they changed the company into what we call Cambridge
A
Analytica.
zmenili to na túto spoločnosť.
And the aim of Cambridge Analytica
A meno tej Cambridge Analytiky,
is to work with governments and businesses.
sorry, the
aim.
Aha, nie meno, ale cieľ. Ich cieľ je bojovať vlastne s vládou. Nie bojovať, pracovať. Work with government.
That's it.
Pracovať s vládou.
To manipulate how people think.
Aby mohli manipulovať to, ako ľudia myslia.
We'll come back to that history
Tomu
there.
sa ešte potom vrátim.
In 2013,
V 2013
have you heard of a man called Edward Snowden?
počuli ste niekedy o mužovi Edward Snowden?
Okay. So Edward Snowden is an American CIA agent.
On je agent CIA.
CIA is the Criminal Investigation Agency of America.
To je vlastne... viete to preložiť, jak sa prekladá CIA? Kriminálna...
Investigatívna agentúra.
Okay.
Very similar to the FBI.
Podobné ako FBI.
So he starts working with the CIA,
On začne pracovať so CIA.
and his mind is very, very powerful.
Má veľmi silnú myseľ,
Just like Christopher Wiley.
ako je Christopher Wiley.
But as he's working for them,
Jak pracuje,
he's realizing that these people are corrupt.
tak si uvedomí, že títo ľudia sú skazení.
They're not only spying on outside agencies,
Nie len, že špehujú,
but they're also spying on their own people.
ale oni špehujú aj, nielen špehujú tých ako keby vonkajších ľudí, ale oni špehujú svojich vlastných ľudí.
And they're spying on them using their cameras on their smartphones.
A vlastne ich špehujú pomocou ich vlastných telefónov
Or their cameras in their computers.
alebo pomocou kamier v počítači.
That's why on my computer
Preto na mojom počítači
I have a lens
ja to tu mám zakryté.
that covers my camera.
To zakrýva moju kameru.
So this type of information
Takéto informácie
Edward Snowden was realizing
tento Snowden si uvedomoval,
that they were spying for no reason,
že špehovali úplne bez dôvodu.
sometimes just for the fun of it.
Niekedy len zo srandy.
So him being a patriotic American
On bol veľmi patriotický Američan
and believes that the Constitution is the ruling government of America,
a verí, že ústava je to, čo má vládnuť v našom štáte.
he takes the secrets
Vezme tieto tajnosti
and exposes them to the world.
a ukáže ich svetu.
This then opens the world up to information,
A toto naozaj otvorilo svet voči informáciám.
and it then turns into an information warfare.
A prekrútilo sa to všetko do informačného boja.
So now Edward Snowden has gone into hiding.
Takže on sa musel ukryť.
And guess where he's gone into hiding?
A viete kam? Russia.
Russia.
Ha.
Of all the places you can hide, why would you hide in Russia?
Zo všetkých miest, do ktorých sa môžete skryť. Prečo by ste šli do Ruska?
Because Russia is the place
Pretože Rusko je to miesto,
that takes advantage of information.
ktoré vlastne si ako keby vezme výhodu z tých informácií.
What did Satan do with information?
Čo robil Satan s informáciou?
He destroyed 1/3 of the angels in heaven.
Zničil tretinu anielov.
That warfare is going to continue on earth.
Toto bude pokračovať na zemi.
And Edward Snowden exposes what the United States government was actually doing.
Edward Snowden vlastne priniesol na povrch, čo robila vláda Spojených štátov.
Moving on,
Ideme ďalej.
in
V
2015,
2015
we had the election of a president.
máme voľby prezidentské.
Who was that?
Kto to bol?
Áno.
Trump and Hillary. Trump a Hillary? No?
A nie.
A to bol 2016.
Aha.
That's 2016.
Yeah, sorry, not 2015. Is it 2015? I think I might my date mixed up. Hold on.
Pardon, ja som to tu pomýlil.
Yeah, they were running in 2016, wasn't it?
Kedy boli voľby? 2015 či 2016?
Koncovi 2016. 18, 17.
Yeah, 16 are the elections.
16 are the elections, yeah.
Trump.
No.
Okay. Okay, yes, that's it. No, forgive me, I phrased that wrong, so let me rephrase myself.
Pardon, ešte raz.
In 2015,
V 2015
who was president?
kto bol prezidentom?
That's what I should have said.
Obama.
Obama.
Okay.
Okay. And Obama
Aha.
came into the presidency
On sa stal prezidentom
based on a promise.
na základe sľubu.
And if you notice, when people want to become president,
Keď sa ľudia chcú stať prezidentom,
they make promises.
robia určité sľuby,
They give information.
dajú informácie.
And he promised
Aha.
that he was going to repel or appeal. Repel, it's to
Že on sa
reverse.
pokúsi
To reverse the Patriot Act.
urobil sľub, že sa pokúsi vlastne zvrátiť ten Patriot Act.
But he wasn't able to fully get rid of it.
Nepodarilo sa mu plne sa ho zbaviť,
So he redesigned it
takže to trošku tak premenil
and called it the Freedom Act.
a nazval to Slobodný pakt.
The Freedom Act is really a watered down version to the Patriot Act.
Water down is like weaker.
Yes.
Je to taká slabšia verzia toho Patriot Actu.
But technically it's still the same thing.
Ale technicky je to stále to isté.
So in order for him to really become that president,
Na to, aby sa stal prezidentom,
that was the promise that he made.
tento sľub urobil.
To reverse what Edward Snowden had really been showing to the world.
Aby vlastne nejako zvrátil to, čo ten Snowden všetko ukazoval.
The corruption in the government.
Tá zvrátenosť tej vlády.
We're going to stop there and we'll continue afterwards.
Dáme pauzu a budeme pokračovať potom.
Our kind and heavenly Father,
Náš láskavý nebeský Otče,
we can see that this information is just information.
vidíme, že tieto informácie sú len informácie.
But how important is it for us to understand this
Ale je
information?
pre nás dôležité, aby sme tomu rozumeli.
To see the history of the serpent,
Aby sme videli dejiny toho hada,
weaving through all the governments, companies and businesses
ktorý sa tak plází pomedzi všetky tie vlády a tie veľké spoločnosti.
To continue the warfare that took place in heaven.
Aby pokračoval ten boj, ktorý začal v nebi.
Lord, as a people at the end of the world,
Pane, ako ľud na konci sveta,
we sometimes have our own thoughts and ideas
máme niekedy sami svoje nápady a názory
of how the end of the world will come.
o tom, ako to príde, ten koniec sveta.
But Father, help us to see
Ale Pane, pomôž nám vidieť,
that this construction of information warfare
že táto konštrukcia informačného boja
is a tool,
je spôsob,
a powerful tool
veľmi mocný spôsob,
that is being used
ktorý sa používa,
to bring the world into subjection.
Aby bol svet privedený do podriadenia.
Please guide us and help us to understand
Prosíme, ved nás a pomôž nám porozumieť.
and help our minds to comprehend these truths.
A pomôž nám rozumieť týmto pravdám.
We ask for a blessing upon our time together now
Prosíme ťa o požehnanie nášho spoločného času.
and watch over us, we pray.
Prosíme o ochránenie nás.
Amen.
Amen.